and welcome back to another video, and today it is the National League transfer roundup. All of the 24 teams and all of their ingoings and all of their outgoings as well. So if you enjoy this type of video, make sure you leave a like on the video. Let's try and smash 50 likes for a part 2 and make it a regular thing. And subscribe if you are new, trying to reach 2.5k by the end of June. And let's get straight into it. So before we start, I've got to give a shout out to National League Bible, who has helped me make the little cards like you see there. So give him a follow on Instagram at National League Bible. All the transfer news, and big thanks to him for allowing me to make this video. And also non-league edits, he's made fancy little edits for some of the big signings. So also follow him on Instagram at non-league edits. Let's get straight into it with AFC FYLDE. First up, AFC FYLDE have signed Neil Bryn, who's very experienced at this level, played for AFC Telford, played for Macclesfield, and played for Gateshead a lot last season, so he's very experienced at this level. Obviously Gateshead having a few money troubles, so FYLDE have got a good Irish centre-back there, but nothing real too worrying for AFC FYLDE. They've still managed to get hold of Danny Rowe, which is surprising. Dave Chandler hoping to get a few more through the door, like Neil Bryn, and maybe a few more EFL qualities, help them get back up into those playoffs again. So we move on to Aldershot Town, who've had a pretty troublesome period so far. They've lost a lot of their best players like Manny Oleleke, Callum Reynolds, their captain, who is looking to maybe go Barnet or Chesterfield, which is still up in the air, and they've obviously lost their loans like their goalkeeper and some other big other players as well. So pretty bad, but they did manage to get their first signing of the summer yesterday with Luke Wandinho from Bromley, which is a really good signing. I didn't know too much about him, but 7 goals and 6 assists for Bromley. One of those players for Bromley that allowed them to score so many goals. Played 40 games, quite young as well, so decent signing from them, but they're going to need a lot more to help replace those players like Callum Reynolds and Manny Oleleke. So next we move on to Barnet, and there's been a lot of outgoings, obviously more than ingoings, but they obviously needed to lower that wage budget going down to non-league. A lot of players have left and or been released, but 2 new signings for them: Mark Cousins, Craig Robson. So John's still trying to get those Dagenham REDBRIDGE players, the players he's managed before, who experienced this level. So pretty decent from Barnet, where they needed a lot more. And surprisingly, John Akinde is still, I don't know if he's still contracted, if he's left yet, so that's going to be rumbling on. Where will he go? Comment below, where will John Akinde go? BARROW, obviously we're a little bit up in the air, just managed to stay up. Now they've got Ian Everett, I think that's his name. Couple of signings, couple of outgoings, nothing too major. Obviously lost Jordan White, who is a big player for them. So BARROW, I expect a few more signings for them from Ian Everett, the new manager. We move on to BOREHAMWOOD, who have made some decent signings so far defensively. FYLDE and Parry, both experienced at this level. Parry playing for Dover, actually managed to score 5 goals as well. And FYLDE played for WREXHAM and for Gateshead, and then the from Barnsley as well. But obviously the big loss of Bruno Andrade, that seemed pretty obvious considering how well BOREHAMWOOD, they're going to be EFL clubs in for them, and Bruno Andrade to Lincoln City could just be the start. Are they going to be able to keep hold of those big star players like Andrade onto the next club? I said I'd give it to transfer news for every club, but Braintree have done no business, nothing coming in, or no one leaving the club either. So Braintree are going to need to make some signings, if I believe, if they're going to stay in the league. So they need to get some signings in. So as of yet, Braintree have done no business at all. We move on to Bromley, who have done pretty well considering they've lost Louis Dennis and Wandinho that did quite well for him. Reese and some other outgoings. They've made some decent signings. Carl De Silva, the first special edit of the video, coming over from Eindhoven in Netherlands, whatever you want to call it, and played for Notts County. So that is a pretty decent signing. Scored 2 goals in the Jupiler League, which is the second league in the Netherlands. So pretty decent signing. It'll be interesting to see how well he does. And Bobby Joe Taylor from Aldershot, and 2 other signings there from Bromley. So so far Bromley have been able to do quite well considering the players they've lost. If they can make a few more signings like that, they've got a decent chance to keep themselves in that mid-table or maybe go one further than they did last season. Move on to Chesterfield. Obviously came down from League 2 last season, and they've been able to bring in a few decent signings, non-league players who are very experienced. Juan Joalal from Macclesfield, who won the league with Macclesfield and then came back down to Chesterfield, and Martin Allen is experienced as a level, and some other decent signings like Wedgbury, Nelson and Evans. So decent signings there. They did lose their big striker in Christian Dennis, who has scored 27 goals over the 2 years he's been there to Notts County, which is disappointing to see for them, but it was very unlikely to be able to keep him. So Christian Dennis, that's a big loss for them, and some other outgoings like the experienced defender Ian Everett, who's now managing Barrow, and some other outgoings. I'll let you have a look there. And REDBRIDGE, and it doesn't make good reading if you are a Daggers fan. They obviously brought in Peter Taylor, which gave a lot of optimism to the fans, and I spoke to a few Daggers fans and they were really happy with the appointment. But considering the money issues they have faced, a lot of their players have moved on. Robson and Cousins have moved back to be managed by John Steele at Barnet, and Feji Okunbieri has left, I think, for Shrewsbury, who done really well last season. Obviously, they're going to have a battle on their hands to keep Michael Cheek, who done quite well, and they've obviously had some other outgoings as well. So far from Dagenham and REDBRIDGE, it doesn't make good reading. Dover, who haven't made any signings as yet. They have lost a few players though. Ryan Bird, Manny Perry, Isuman and Pinnock. Pinnock going to Wimbledon, born in Gravesend. So fun fact for you. Ryan Bird, that's a really surprising one for me. He went to Maidenhead, been at Dover for a long time. He's really liked by the Dover fans, so that's a bit surprising. And Manny Perry, a big part of that defence. But we fought this last season with Dover and they managed to get themselves just close to the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting to see how Kinnear replaces these players. On to my team, Ebbsfleet. And there hasn't been any real surprises as of yet. We've obviously signed a real big signing of Ebu Adams, and here's the fancy edit for him. And it was a really good signing. I really rated it. We've lost a few players, some obvious ones. I think Anthony Cook was very likely to be going. McLean retiring. Febin Brady never played. But interesting to see Jack Connors did go. I think he'd be staying. And I think if we let someone like Jack Connors go, who I think is more than good enough for this level, then hopefully we do have a more than good enough replacement. And Marv McCoy as well, didn't really get enough game time, but considering he wasn't playing enough, I think it was a mutual agreement that they both wanted to leave. So hopefully we can bring in a striker and a cam and a fullback. We need to get those in. We can continue the signings like Ebu Adams, then it should hopefully be a good transfer window. To Halifax Town, and on the surface it may seem they've lost a load of their players, like the huge Tom Denton, who's like 6'8" or whatever, and a lot of their players, a lot of the former players are going back to play for their manager in the league below. I think for Alfreton, who did get sacked in February. But Halifax have got a new manager and he'll hopefully want to put his stamp on the team and hopefully push Halifax up a little bit and get his style of playing. And with players like Odalesi, decent signing, and some other good signings in there. A few more signings at Halifax, and I think they'll be having a good window. Gateshead, who actually had to go back part-time instead of full-time as they had a failed takeover, which is very disappointing for their fans. They've had to lose players like Wes York, Fifield, Danny Johnson, just to name a few, and they haven't really going to be able to. It's going to be very hard to replace them, so it's going to be a very tough season for Gateshead. They have managed to keep their manager, who could have potentially got the sack, but he's probably staying, and he's got a very big job in his hands to maybe keep Gateshead up. Harrogate Town obviously got promoted from the National League North. Nothing really surprising. Langmead, Williams, two from the league below, so nothing really amazing. Have got rid of a few. Probably, I don't know too much about them, but probably getting released, not good enough for the National League. So Harrogate Town probably going to need a few more signings if they are going to compete in the National League. Hartlepool expected more transfers considering the new takeover, but they've lost a few important players like Blair Adams, Devante Rodney, Reece Oates as well, who were big for them last season. But Hartlepool will be hoping that they can improve that squad a lot to get themselves bumped up the league to HAVANT and WATERLOOVILLE, who got promoted from the National League South last season. And they've made a very good signing of Alfie Pavey, who was the National League South Player of the Season. It's a really good signing from HAVANT, and an experienced defender in Paul Robinson, to 36 years of age, and Nicky Kabamba, who scored the great goal, the great header against Ebbsfleet in the playoffs for ALDERSHOT, and that's the fancy edit for him. So HAVANT have made some good signings so far. They can bring a few in more like that, then they have a much better chance of staying in the National League. LEYTON ORIENT, who haven't done anything too major. They've had a few outgoings, but they made a very good signing of Dale Gorman, and they were disappointed they didn't sign Ebu Adams up. But Dale Gorman from Stevenage, good signing from Leyton Orient. He did make the thumbnail as well, so Dale Gorman so far. Leyton Orient need a few more signings if they are going to push themselves up the league. But with signings like Dale Gorman, they've got a very good chance. Maidenhead, who've had a pretty good window so far, to be fair. They have lost Harry Pritchard, who was their top goal scorer last season. So disappointed they have lost him. But they've brought in some interesting signings like Ayo Obelai from Eastleigh, Ryan Bird from Dover, of Herson Alves from the Brentford B team. And there it is, the fancy edit for him. So it'll be interesting to see if he can cope in the National League, if he can fill up his potential, and it'll be interesting to see if he can do well for Maidenhead. Maidstone United, and they've actually released quite a few players. They want to change that squad up. Obviously, they collapsed and nearly got relegated. But signings like Alex Finney, really good signing. Got him on a 2-year deal. I spoke to a Maidstone fan, and they really do rate Alex Finney, a really good centre back. Obviously, some releases and players leaving, but Maidstone needs some more signings if they are going to improve themselves in the league. And it seems to know it's Salford City. They've been very busy. Devante Rodney, Nathan Pond, a few outgoings. They did lose Michael Nottingham, which is a bit disappointing, but some real good signings which won't worry them about the losing Michael Nottingham. Nathan Pond, a really good signing, experience, played at Fleetwood, got them promoted. A few of these signings, I think, maybe are they going to really have that that desire to get back into the Football League. So it'll be interesting to see how Salford do play out. I still think they need a season. I don't think they'll win the league like people do expect, and I think they will get playoffs. But the signings they've made, you can't deny they are really good signings. And Salford have got a very good chance of getting in the playoffs or even winning the National League. So with more signings like that, Salford are going to do well next year. Moors, who have yet to make a signing as of yet, but the big loss is not a player, but it's Mark Yates. They lost him to Macclesfield, and whoever they bring in is going to need a real job on their hands. Solihull Moors just about stayed up, but Mark Yates saved them, brought in some really good loans and some real good signings to get them to keep their status in the National League. So Solihull Moors have got a real tough job on their hands to get the players in. Nothing too crazy. Louis John, centre back, also used to play for Ebbsfleet. Didn't you put 2 L-Ebbs? But that's not relevant. Louis John has left the league, and a few decent signings from Sutton, but nothing too out of the ordinary. And Sutton will be hoping to get some more signings in and hopefully go for another playoff position or maybe win the title. Wrexham, who have let quite a few players go, but have made a pretty decent signing of Luke Young from relegated Torquay, a cam, and there is the little fancy edit for him. I think that's a pretty good signing. Been at Torquay for a while and done really well there. So Wrexham, new manager of Sam Ricketts, will be hoping to bring in a few more players and hopefully get them higher up the league, and maybe after all this time back into the Football League. So finally, we have Eastleigh, who had a bit of a scare where their owner went and bought Sunderland, but they have got a new shareholder behind the club. I don't know the whole details. They have lost a few. Nothing too major from Eastleigh. Josh Hare, decent signing. and Eastleigh will be hoping to use the money and the investment they have to hopefully improve what they did from last season. And that is the end of the National League Roundup. Big thanks to National League Bible and Non-League Edits for helping me make this video. Make sure you leave a like on the video if you have enjoyed it. Let's try and smash 50 likes, and I will try and do these regularly. So leave a comment. Who's had the best window so far? Has it been Salford? Has it been Ebbsfleet one signing? Has it maybe been Halifax? I don't know. Leave a comment down below who has been the best signing. Remember to leave a like, subscribe if you're trying to reach 2.5k by the end of June. And I'll see you all later. Later.